The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 3rd, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by Caneswear, your destination for all your victorious Miami Hurricane merchandise gear. Caneswear.com has you covered no matter what you need. We will be talking about Caneswear a little bit more later in the show. But Matt, I wanted to really there's only so much more we could say about the game on Saturday, and we continue our film breakdowns. Yesterday, we had a really, really good film breakdown of Cam Ward. Today, we have a film breakdown of third downs and the phenomenal job that Lance Guidry did dialing up the defensive looks that absolutely had the Florida offense in stitches, really. I mean, they could not convert on third down. They were 0 for 8 on their first 8 third downs. It wasn't until their final third down opportunity of the game that they actually converted one when DJ Lagway, the backup quarterback, moved the chains on a 3rd and 12 scramble play. But Miami was really, really good on third down. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we had the chance to get together with Mario Cristobal, Shannon Dawson, and Lance Guidry late yesterday. And I thought that I was seeing the opening stages of an attempt to sort of reel in the euphoria from that victory. I mean, I'm sitting at home on Sunday night, and I turned on the USC LSU game, and watching those two teams, and they're in the early stages of the season, whatever, nothing's perfect, but I'm seeing two teams that flat out have a lot of talent and can play really good football. And there's a whole bunch more out there when you start getting to the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Ohio States. There's a lot of teams in college football that could have walked into the swamp on Saturday and blown out the Florida Gators. So it's not pouring rain on what the Hurricanes did. It was just an absolutely brilliant performance. As we all know, you can't throw more adjectives and praise on a football team than the entire Canes nation has on the Miami Hurricanes. But I wasn't surprised to see this attempt to start reeling things in a little bit because now it's time to go back to work and to keep getting better and keep developing depth and keep this season sort of going, on an upward trend as opposed to what we've seen at other times in other seasons over the last 20 years when you'd play a great game and and then it just fizzled out eventually, sometimes sooner rather than later. So Mario, okay, he made the comment that he couldn't remember what he said or did after the game. I thought that was interesting, and he sort of took a shot at people filming in the locker room when he's doing his post-game speeches, because his post-game speech on Saturday, he was excited. He dropped some F-bombs. The university was filming it, obviously. They couldn't use it on their social media because of the F-bombs. A player in the locker room clearly filmed it. They put that on social media, and now the whole world sees Mario Cristobal dropping F-bombs in the locker room. I didn't get the impression he was really thrilled about that, and I understand that. Lance Guidry coming off the field, was very funny. He said something about, he's from Louisiana, where they do have alligators, and he's been known to, be a Louisiana boy, pure at heart, and he made the comment that he knows how to slay a gator or something. It was very funny. Coming off the field, he goes, up to the fans. They filmed it and obviously put it all over social media. So now you had Lance Guidry all over social media saying, "I know how to slay a gator." Okay. So it was funny. We joked around about it, but you got the impression that he kind of wants that to go away too. And you could go on and on and on. The issues with the Florida recruiting coordinator or staff or whatever, where players were going to talk to recruits in the Florida recruiting section after the game, and she was panicking and was shooing them away and yelling it's a violation and things like that. You can't mingle with our recruits, and a lot of those kids are friends with each other, but my question about that was, why did they have the Florida recruiting section right next to where the visiting team goes into the locker room? If you don't want the visiting team to, say things to the recruits, see the recruits, Miami players was come to the U. You don't want to go to school here. Come to the U. And that clearly had people in Florida rattled. So there was a lot going on after the game. Miami had like a 10-minute long celebration there in the corner. It was a happy moment for the fans, for Mario Cristobal, for the players, and they certainly made the most of that moment. But Matt, circling back to the point I initially was making a few minutes ago, and I'm sorry for being long-winded, but I got the impression that Mario is making a distinct effort now to kind of reel all this back, bring his team back down to earth, and let's get back to work, because it is apparent, all you got to do is watch, that there are a lot of good teams in college football. The Miami Hurricanes haven't won anything yet off of one victory.
What do you mean? They won the national title. Just ask any fan at Miami. I mean, it's funny. You look at the comments from yesterday's show, which I think it was like a record number of comments, and people thought you were really negative. They said, I don't know anything about football. Some of them did. Some did. But it's amazing the way the world overreacts and underreacts based on one game. And, this is Florida is now, it's the end of the Florida program for the rest of history or whatever, and for Miami, all that's gone. Miami is definitely back. All the past stuff's gone. Mario's fixed the program, right? I always find the truth is somewhere in the middle for just general thoughts of elation or despair. I never think that things are as great as everyone thinks they are, or as terrible as anyone thinks they are. Now, in Miami's case, it might actually be a little closer to as great as everyone thinks it is, because it's sort of a perfect storm of sorts, honestly, between the portal pickups that we saw Miami make, which, I said this year obviously was Mario finally got the portal right. He got all free agents for the most part, and they all showed out. You could see it in the first game. I mean, it was like they didn't even need Ruben Bain. That's how good those portal defensive linemen are. Someone asked me to apologize to Elijah Arroyo because I didn't think that he was the greatest pickup in the world out of Marshall. Like, I didn't call him a free agent. He played, he showed out. He looked great. And so did the rest of the line. So now the challenge, and so did the rest of the team, honestly. And one of the funniest things as a sidebar, because I always look for weird things from the press conferences. And the weirdest thing that I think out of the entire day yesterday was Lance Guidry at one point was asked about Jaden Harris and how did Jaden Harris play, because he gave up this 71-yard run by taking a terrible angle and and all this stuff. And Lance Guidry began at one point talking about how Jaden Harris is a player who plays based on confidence, whatever that means, and he had extremely high confidence in the game, so he played well. That's essentially what Lance Guidry said. And then, not 2 minutes later, Lance Guidry is talking about how it wasn't Jaden Harris' fault. Everyone thinks it was Jaden Harris' fault that the 71-yard touchdown run happened, which, by the way, who cares? Why are we talking about the worst thing that happened in the game? I don't know. Media like to talk about the worst thing, I guess, because they asked him about that. They asked him about Jaden Harris in his play, and so obviously that's what they were getting at. Out of all the good moments, of course, the media wants to bring up the one guy who they think gave up the big play. And Lance Guidry said, it wasn't Jaden Harris' fault. He was just covering the tight end. He was doing his assignment. It was a linebacker's fault. Indirectly throwing Wesley Bassant under the bus, which is fine because Wesley was not doing his job either, although he was double teamed, that he was going to have a very difficult job getting through a double team to the ball carrier. So I figured, you know what? I'll trust Lance Guidry. I'm sure he knows what he's talking about, right? But then I started thinking, Lance Guidry said that Jaden Harris needs to have high confidence to play well. That's essentially what he said, which is weird to say that out loud anyway. And then he's saying it wasn't Jaden Harris' fault. Is that now to keep his confidence high? Let's just tell him it wasn't his fault, even though we all know it was his fault. Let him think it was Wesley Bassant's fault, and he played perfectly. He played a flawless game, keep his confidence high. So I said, I'm going to go back and look at the actual film and slow it down and watch it over and over and over again. And as it turns out, when the running back got the ball, whether Jaden Harris began out of position or put himself out of position, if you look at the film, he was 10 yards off the line of scrimmage when the handoff occurred. Now, if his responsibility is to cover a tight end who's supposed to be running a route on a passing play, which is what Lance Guidry said his responsibility was, cover the tight end is what Lance Guidry said. That was his responsibility. It's now a running play, clearly, with Jaden Harris 10 yards from line of scrimmage. Jaden Harris recognizes it's a run, he's not trying to cover the tight end, who, by the way, is now trying to block Wesley Bastains. He just runs to the wrong side of Wesley Bastains full speed, crashes into a bunch of people, and there's a huge lane up the sideline for the running back. Now, you could say it's not his fault, I guess, because his responsibility, I guess, was the tight end. And certainly he ran into the tight end, but he could have adjusted and maybe gone to where the ball carrier was going to be going, to the one open gap that the ball carrier was going to run to. I'm just saying, I don't want to bring Jaden Harris's confidence down any more than Lance Guidry does, but that's just what it looked like to some schmuck on film. And people say, oh, neither of us know football, blah, blah. We've covered football forever. Jed Fish is one of the greatest coaches in America. He never played football. He never played organized football. Some people are always like, oh, you didn't play football at a high level. What do you know? Some people know football. I'm not one of them. Gary's not one of them, but some people do know football. Anyway, that was an aside. Now I have to try to remember what the hell we were talking about before that and get back to that.
So just kind of reeling in the overall. I mean, I'm not going to call it over the top because, that was justified. Everything we saw was justifiable. The euphoria was.
Yeah, well, we were talking about the Mario getting the team back in gear and sort of keeping them pushed in the right direction, right? Which is super important. That's what I talked about, honestly, in yesterday's show, that people took issue with it. It's too negative. Why would you say that? Just let them enjoy the moment. To me, it's always about the next thing. You never think, okay, we won, let's just relax. Miami has a 24-hour rule. Matt Shodell has a 0-minute rule because I worry about everything all the time. Okay, that's Matt Shodell's 0-minute rule. You all should adopt it. It'll make your lives as miserable as mine. And the 0-minute rule said the second that game ended, get in the freaking locker room, get your asses together. Mario can do his weird, I don't even know what that dance was. He made up some crazy dance in the locker room, which you said, it was filmed. He's like, that wasn't what he was doing, though. He was jumping up and down and just throwing one arm up and down like he was like hammering a gator head to death. That's what it looked like.
He literally said he couldn't remember today.
At one point during the game, I saw him and he's going like this on the sideline, like he wants to break their neck. You got to love the guy and his passion, but let's chill a little bit, because honestly, I don't love the highs, just like I don't love the lows, right? If you don't want your team to be in despair and, oh, we suck, after a terrible loss, then you also don't want your team to be like, we're the greatest, and let's celebrate and party and all this stuff after you win. Like, you have to do the Matt Shodell 0-minute rule and be miserable all the time and always think you suck. No matter whether you lose or win, you've got to be the same.
It's usually a 24-hour rule, which is
I understand it's a 24-hour rule. But
I wouldn't even be good with 72 hours.
I like the 0-minute rule. That's my rule. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Because it was one game, man. It was one game against a team that Florida might be great. I think they're terrible. And if Florida winds up with 4 or 5 wins and they're slaughtered by every decent team in the SEC, does that make this Miami win look that much better? Not that Miami didn't play great, because they did. Miami played great. So I don't want to take anything away from Miami. But if you did that to Vanderbilt, would Miami fans be like, oh my God, we're so good? Because Florida might be about as good as Vanderbilt this year. And just because they're named Florida and have some decent recruits that are on the team, that was one of the worst coached games I've ever seen by an opponent, period. And Miami's coaches, to their credit, were flawless. But you would think SEC coaches, even though the whole defensive coaching staff was in their first year, it was almost like they're like, why are we wasting our time with these guys? We're going to get fired anyway. Our schedule's horrible. It's what happened to Al Golden his final year. Al Golden got the schedule, and I was told his words were, I'm getting fired. That's what he said to somebody who was with him when he saw the schedule. And I heard what he said. Okay, this is secondhand, but that's what he said. I'm going to get fired. And you've got to think that Billy Napier and that staff.
They didn't take Nebraska off the schedule. He was looking to lessen the load for sure.
Well, Billy Napier and that staff probably had a similar thought process when they saw their schedule. And it sure didn't seem like they put a lot of effort into getting their players ready for that game, which is why, they should be fired, quite honestly. And it's almost like we're just going to take our paycheck. Why should we spend, it's a grind, man. Football coaches have the worst lives in the world. They don't see their families. They don't see their friends. Their family and their friends are 20-year-olds who don't listen to them most of the time. Their job is not coaching football and calling plays up. 90% of their job is dealing with, hey, did he go to study hall? Why didn't he go to study hall? Get in my office. I need to talk to you. Parents calling and complaining to, I want to talk to Mario. Why isn't this? Why isn't that? I mean, you have 105 kids on that team who need to be babysat to some extent on every team, not just Miami, because they were in high school living in their parents' houses 1 to 4 years earlier, except for Cam McCormick, who can now babysit. He is a legal age babysitter. College football coaching is babysitting. That's why you see, I know Jim Harbaugh is going to be probably put in jail if he stayed in college, but like you see a lot of college coaches who would rather be in the NFL. And not that the NFL is any easier, but you're not babysitting in the NFL. That's the agent's job now. And guess what? If you talk to agents, they'll tell you their job is to babysit. I know agents. They tell me that's their job. Their job isn't to negotiate a contract. Their job is, my player got drunk. His buddy just called me. He's passed out cold in the street. I got to find somebody who can pick him up and make sure nobody in the media finds out about it. That's what an agent's job is. That's what they do. This is what college coaches, this is their job, and they have assistants and lower level people that help them deal with it. But like, it's not a fun job. You have to love football, and you have to really just basically be a crazy person, which is why you see so many football coaches just doing crazy things. And the best coaches are the craziest coaches. So when Mario's bashing an alligator head, in the locker room and breaking necks on the sideline and like doing some crazy gator chomp and with making a face like he's like, just murdered the leader of the Medellin cartel, that's fine, because those are the best football coaches. And I always said, and people agree with me, I tell this to, and this is not for Mario, because Mario's a great person, but in general, the worst human beings are the best football coaches, because football coaches have to tell parents, they have to tell young men, you're done. Like, you're done. You don't fit whatever we're doing. You're not good enough. We're not playing you. You're taking up a spot. It's not easy. And so the fact that Mario can somehow negotiate that social aspect and be a decent person, like, that's rare, because most great coaches are terrible people. Like, that's just what I've learned. They're mean. They're mean. And that's why Larry Coker was the nicest coach in America. That he's the nicest coach you'll ever find. And he was the worst head coach probably in the history of the University of Miami. He took a program that was self-sufficient and was running itself, and just recruits were just going to keep piling in. And somehow he figured out a way to do what Mario did in the locker room after the game. He just choked it out and destroyed it. He was the nicest coach Miami's ever had, and he destroyed the program. That's a fact. It's backed up by the records that the teams had based on his program's recruitments and the players that he brought in during his tenure, because he won the championship with another guy's players. Those players, by the way, in 2001, and 2002, they were running the team. Like, you ask those players, they're like, we don't even need coaches. They'll tell you that. We don't even need coaches. We were just winning no matter what. So anyway, can I go now? Like, I've talked forever. Fans are going to be upset. They'll be posting on YouTube. Oh, he's terrible. Oh, what's on? He's so annoying.
I got to get you refocused here. So, like, make no mistake, this was worth celebrating, no doubt about it. But it is time to get back to work. And one of the things that was really off the charts, like I said at the beginning of the show, was the third down defense. And we've got a whole story on it today. We sent Matt into the lab so he wouldn't annoy the crap out of all of us for a day. And we had him watch all of the third down reps that Miami was successful. So we break them down in the story today. Matt, I'm not going to talk about all of them here on the show. Everybody can check out the story on the website this morning, but give us a synopsis of why you think, after studying it to the degree that you did, that Miami was so successful on third down.
Well, A, Lance Guidry did a great job, and B, Florida was totally unprepared for what Lance Guidry does. Like I was trying to say in the opening, I know fans just want to say Miami's that good and so much better than Florida that they just crushed them, But some of it comes down to coaching, right? And the Florida offense had no idea what was going on. As a matter of fact, didn't Lance Guidry even say that himself? Oh, no, I'm sorry. He was talking about that the Pro Football Focus didn't know what was going on. No, he didn't say it. I take it back. But Florida clearly had no idea on offense. They weren't prepared for anything that Miami did on defense. And the truth is, I've done a million film studies on Lance Guidry's defense from last year, from before he even got to Miami. He did nothing that different. It wasn't a different defense that he was running against Florida. But it was like they had never seen it before. Graham Mertz is literally throwing the ball where he thinks there will be an open receiver, not realizing defensive linemen are dropping into coverage almost every single snap that he has. They weren't diagnosing anything at all. It didn't help that their pass protection was terrible. I think it was their left tackle. One of their tackles was really, really bad. So when you have a bad offensive line, when you're not diagnosing the defense at all, because it just seemed like they weren't coached up. And Lance Guidry, to his credit, he did say something else really interesting yesterday. He said that they spent 3 weeks specifically preparing for Florida. Usually you spend, in season, obviously you spend 1 week. Usually fall camp, you don't break camp till a week and a half to at most 2 weeks before the season starts, which means you were doing 2 weeks of game prep. They did 3 weeks of game prep, okay? So they were beyond prepared on defense for what Florida did, and it showed. So kudos to Miami, and this to Florida. When you have that combination of one who's really prepared and one who's really not, and one team is much more talented than a really bad Florida defense, in my opinion, that's what happens. Miami should have scored 50 points, could have scored 50 points. They just, a yard here, a yard there, an interception that should have been thrown, whatever. They would have had 50 plus points easy. And then, the other thing with Lance Guidry and what he said yesterday, which I found very interesting, is that he just focused on 7 plays. Like he found or discovered, however you want to put it, just 7 general types of plays that Florida like to run. A screen pass, whatever these types of routes that they run. And he just repped them and repped them and repped them and repped them. And I think he said that out of the first 10 plays Florida ran, 4 or 5 of them were exactly what Miami had repped. So, I mean, how easy is that to start off the game on a roll when Florida does nothing that you basically aren't expecting, right? And it was also so refreshing to finally see Miami coaches putting it on another team early, right? Yeah. Where the other team seemed totally unprepared. How many times have we seen Miami coaches
clearly
the first quarter was a disaster because they did, even they used to just do little quick hitters that Miami was unprepared for. And now it was Miami just putting it on Florida, man. And they were totally prepared for what Florida did. And kudos to Miami's coaches, because that has not been the way it's been for a large part of the last 22 years. It just seems like Miami's always on its heel responding. And I even said before the season, I said, what I want to see this year is Miami doing things where the other team has to react, instead of Miami constantly saying, oh, well, now they're doing this, so now we have to do that. Make the other team react to you, not you have to be reactive to them. And that's a great way to win, because it means you're dictating. You're not responding. And Miami was a dictator. Is a dictator a good thing? I think it's a good thing. Donald Trump says it's a good thing. If you ask the Democrats, it's a good thing, everybody.
No politics.
Miami is a dictator, not the follower. That's what you want to be on the football field, and they were. And I hope it continues that way. It should.
Yeah. So defense did a great job. Phenomenal work on third down, and Pro Football Focus actually was kind of tough on their grades, even though the defense just allowed 261 yards in the game and no real deep passes, and but they were pretty tough on the DBs, and it was kind of weird. So I asked Lance Guidry about that, and he said that he gets what Pro Football Focus is doing. He says, but they don't have a clue what we're doing on defense. Like, they don't know what the players are supposed to be doing on those given plays when they're giving them minus grades, and it just doesn't wash. He said he was extremely happy with his guys on defense, including the defensive backfield, which everybody had identified as the weakness of the team coming into the season. So this is all plus stuff for Miami, without question, even if it is time to put that now in the rearview mirror and move forward.
If everyone's talking about Florida for the next month, that's not going to help Miami players, coaches, or anybody else. Like, they just need to keep progressing, whether they're playing bad teams or not, which they are for the next few weeks. You've got to keep seeing that push up front on offensive line, push up front on defensive line, keep those penalties essentially to 0, right? play flawless, fundamental. It's hard to say fast twice in a row. Flawless fundamental football, because the 3 Fs will get you a lot of wins. Triple F it, and you'll be good. That's flawless fundamental football.
So
can we delete this whole show at this point? No one's going to want to watch the show. We don't need a show today. Nobody cares.
They love you, man.
That is absolutely not. Do you read the comments?
I know, but
one of them. I'm going to read one of them because I think he was right on point. I'm going to read you one of these. I just got to find it. There's 140 comments. Hold on, how many were there here?
I had a lot of people come up to me at the Swamp Saturday, just thanking us for doing this show in the mornings. They listen on the way to work. They love their Matt Shodell. I mean, I heard it all, man. They really do. They love you. But while you're looking for what you're looking for, so we got the chance to talk to Shannon Dawson, and it was, let's be honest, it was a lot of bows. I mean, the offense was so good. I mean, we talked a lot about Cam Ward, about the origins of getting Cam Ward, and one of the things I asked him was, when Cam Ward goes in the portal and you're taking a look on whether to recruit him. And this was not a light decision. I mean, Cam Ward was an expensive acquisition. I mean, as expensive as anybody in the portal, or maybe the most expensive player in the portal this year. So you're looking at a kid that was on basically a 500 team that hadn't won. And I asked Shannon Dawson, did you find yourself projecting what he would look like with better personnel, which Miami obviously has across the board? And we saw Saturday what the result of that was. I mean, Cam Ward was unbelievable. And Miami had 529 yards of offense. He threw for 385. So, I mean, he could not have been better in his Miami debut. But it was so clear to me that Miami got what it needed by bringing in Cam Ward, and Cam Ward got what he needed by coming to Miami. But somebody had to have the vision to do this back, at the turn of the year. I mean, you got a guy from a 500 team in the Pac-12 just sitting there in the portal looking for a lot of money. And you had to make an evaluation and determination. If we bring this guy in, is he better than Emory? Is he better than Reese? Does he make us better as a football team? And is it worth the budget allocation that is $1.5 to $2 million that is going to have to be made to have him in the Miami program? Obviously, they made the right decision. They were able to put, have the money together, and they made the right decision. But I talked to Shannon Dawson a little bit about that. You could see that in the story today. And just a lot of offense talk, and they really did a great job, and he did a great job. He had a phenomenal game plan. He used everything at his disposal. And, it got me thinking, why didn't we see this more from Shannon Dawson last year? And there really is only one explanation. He didn't have the quarterback that could handle the depth of offense that they are putting out there this year, and B, couldn't read the defense the way Cam Ward does. And we talked about it. He's like standing there, just like surveying the field before he snaps the ball, with body language and a way of doing business that was unlike anything we've ever seen before. So all in all, it was all good. You guys have all that stuff on the website to check out, the Mario interview, the coordinators. We'll have more from Mario today, and probably more from him later in the week as well. So you'll get your fix of Mario Cristobal this week as we move forward and start getting ready for Saturday's game against Florida A&M, that people were trying to insist to me is better than people think that Florida A&M is. But I still think this is a sort of catch your breath type of week in the Miami football program. Yes, they got to get ready to play Saturday, but this has been a long haul and a long grind the past several months to get ready to play that game last weekend and show up with that kind of quality. And it's good to have just to take a deep breath and sort of catch yourself a little bit, get your feet back under you as you get ready for what's going to continue to be a long season. If you make the playoff, you may have to play 15, you could play as many as 15, 16 games. So the college football season for the good teams has gotten longer. Miami hopes it's one of those good teams. We got a couple more things to talk about today on Good Morning CaneSport. But before we do, let's hear from our friends at CaneSwear.
Welcome to CaneSport. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, CaneSport has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. CaneSport, the spot Miami fans shop.
So 2655 South University Drive in Davie. If you guys live anywhere in the vicinity of CaneSwear, I really urge you guys to check this store out. It is probably the best cane store out there now. There's the old traditional all canes, but I think they're on the decline. There's another university store, but CaneSwear has just a phenomenal selection of all your Miami Hurricanes gear that you can use for the season. If you're going to the game on Saturday and you want some new tailgating stuff, they can take care of you soup to nuts. They got chairs, all types of other tailgating equipment that you might want to use when you go to the game. It doesn't matter whether you're male, female, a kid, whether you're shopping for your wife, your girlfriend. CaneSwear has Canes gear for everybody in the family. So make sure you go on by CaneSwear and check them out as soon as you get a chance. And if you don't live anywhere near CaneSwear, you don't want to go on your way to the stadium or on your way home from the stadium on Saturday, it's a night game, so they'll probably be closed after the game, but you can go before the game on Saturday. You can shop them at caneswear.com. They got a great shipping department, and they will get whatever you buy out to you right away. So CaneSwear, caneswear.com. Can't recommend them enough to all Miami Hurricane fans out there. Make sure you shop CaneSwear today. All right.
Well, let me ask something first. Have you looked at how the college football playoff works in terms of the seedings, by the way? Because Miami can be ranked 8th and get a first round bye.
Yeah, in the ACC, you get a bye.
Well, not necessarily. The top 4 conference. Okay, it's so complicated. The 4 highest ranked conference championship teams, the ones that won those conferences, they are the automatic top 4 seeds that get buys. So, if an Alabama loses 1 game during the season and is ranked 4th, but they, for whatever reason, aren't in their title game, or actually, let's say they go undefeated in the regular season, they lose their conference title game, whoever beats them would have the opportunity to have the bye, not Alabama. Alabama would automatically not have a bye. So if Miami goes undefeated during the regular season, loses to Clemson, they don't have a bye anymore. Even though they might be, in the top 4 in the CFP, if you go undefeated and you lose 1 game, other teams might have 2 losses. It might be a worse 1-loss team, whatever it is, I mean, chances are you lose that conference game, you won't be in the top 4 anyway. But if you are, you're still not. So the top 4 conference champions by the rankings get the 4 byes. Everyone else 5 to 12 plays in the first round, with the higher seed being the home field. So I don't know if every fan knows that or not, but it's a little odd. Just whoever the 4 are in the CFP, let them be the frickin' top 4 seeds. Like, the NFL doesn't do weird stuff like this, right? I don't know why they make it so complicated. They're trying to make the conference championship game mean a lot, I guess.
Well, next year they go to 14 teams. It'll get even more complicated. But all right. So
wait. Do you want to hear the post?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is from first I'll do one from Jason D. Felice. He said, "Love the show, but I got to say it. You guys remind me of Timon and Pumbaa." I assume this is an 8-year-old posting that, because I don't really watch cartoons or Lion King or any of that stuff. But apparently, it's a meerkat and a warthog, and the Timon guy, the meerkat, claims Pumbaa's ideas for his own. So I don't know which of us is that, but I'm hoping it's you. And then this is my favorite. This is from @N Ivy Petite John Henry 7024. Because apparently there's 7,023 NIV Petite John Henrys that had already claimed that same exact username. He was nice enough to post, this is what he wrote. I'm not making this up. "You all talking heads just kills me when you all give your opinions on teams like it's the gospel, LOL. Matt, you probably never played the game, but acting like you're Nick Saban with 6 national championships, LOL. Shut up, hater. That's my favorite post of the year. I love that guy. So, hello? You have no response?
No.
Shut up, hater. Shut up, hater. Because apparently we hate We hate because we try to say like our analysis of the team and we try to share our opinions. What does this 7,024th guy want us to sit up here and say? Nothing? Like, are we not supposed to share our opinions? That's what I don't understand. Do people not understand out there? We're just like sharing our thoughts on the team with you. And Gary will only say positive stuff because he doesn't want people to get mad at him. But for me, I want everyone to be miserable like myself. So I share my most negative base thoughts about the team as well as the good parts of the team. And by the way, I did predict Miami would beat Florida by a wider margin than Gary Ferman did. I had a double-digit victory predicted. Not as high as it was. I predicted 38-28. But hey, at least I got that right. So I'm happy about that. And we're both sticking with our 10-2 predictions, even though I think most fans right now expect. I think most fans would say 10-2 would be a disappointment after one game. But we're sticking with it, right, Gary? So we're stubborn.
Yeah, I'm not flipping and flopping on that.
No, God forbid.
I was looking for it. I can't find it right this minute, but Nick Saban had some real nice things to say about Mario in the last couple of days. How he always knew Mario was something special and how impressed he was with the job Mario was doing. So I thought that was really nice. But before we go, I did want to come clean and tell this story. So you guys saw the controversy up in Gainesville with the recruits going to the recruiting section and all that stuff. Okay. Well, they had a pretty good recruiting list at this game. So we decided to travel Zuby and Steven up to Gainesville to hang out outside where the recruits come in and go out at the end and just, talk to them, see what's up, see what they think about Miami, see what they thought about the game, that sort of thing. So, they were undercover. They escaped the wrath of the Florida recruiting staff out there. And so we had a roundup the other day, and now we're bringing you some individual stories. And today we have a story with St. Augustine 4-star wide receiver Samorian Wingo. He was absolutely impressed by what he saw from the Hurricanes, not surprisingly. So you can catch up on what he had to say. We also talked to Gators 4-star receiver commit Joshua Moore. Miami badly wants to flip him. He's from West Broward High. So far, they have not been able to do so, but they certainly are not going to give up. So we've got an update on those two guys today, and we'll have more updates for you on some of those recruits here coming up in the next 24 to 48 hours or so for you guys to check out. All right, tonight, CaneSport Live, our second show of the season. First show was great. I hope so many of you guys could join us tonight for CaneSport Live. I really want more guys on the show. So if you want to come on the show, email us at CaneSport, CaneSport @yahoo.com and tell us you want to come on the show, and we will get you the link to the studio and facilitate getting you guys on the show. We'd love to get have a great lineup of cross section of opinions on tonight's show. Let everybody know what you think of the Gator game. So it's CaneSport Live, 8:00 tonight. You'll be able to find.
How I know it's going to be a great show on CaneSport Live at 8:00 tonight, Gary? How do I know it's going to be a great show? Tell me.
You're calling in sick. It's going to be me and Azubi will be hosting.
It's funny. I tell Gary, listen, I'll do every other CaneSport Live, the first hour like he wants me to do. No problem. I love interacting with the fans who hate me. I live for that. I say, I told him last week, I said, listen, the only week I can't do it next Tuesday, And I'm sure if I didn't say this, fans would be like, oh, Matt doesn't want to come on after a win because he's so negative and he can't be happy, But in reality, every year for the last 17 years now, because my son's 21, so probably the last 16 years, my son and I do our fantasy football draft together. And this is a set in stone draft date that's set like a month early with the 10 teams. A lot of them are in my family. And they all have to basically set that date and stick to it. And once they say it's okay, you can't change it because then you got to change it with 9 other people and everyone gets mad, right? So it just happened to be this Tuesday. And I totally forgot about CaneSport Live. And I can't change the date. I don't know. Should family come before hurricanes or hurricanes come before family? It was a 50-50 deal. So
Zuby's fired up. He gets to come on the show and co-host with me tonight. So,
I was thinking about doing both. I was thinking about doing the draft and being on the show at the same time. I could do that.
You probably could have done it.
I could do that.
But we'll try to have you covered. But so 8:00 tonight. If you're just watching, you'll have the link. Will be on the front page of the website later today. And like I said, we really would love to get some of you guys out there on the show tonight. Email us at CaneSport@yahoo.com, and we will try to facilitate that for you. If you're on YouTube right now and you like this show, like this channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps us with the algorithms and growing our audience, which has really been starting to swell. Thank you so much to all of you that are watching each day in the morning. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please head on over to our website, join our community of fans. Your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every single day. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time, everybody.